Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Ron Childers. Just moments ago, the National Weather Service issuing a tornado warning for Shelby County. As a matter of fact, we've got 3 warnings going right now. Let's give you the info on it. We've got this line of storms pushing towards the Mississippi River, and currently a tornado warning. This is for Crittenden, Mississippi, Shelby, and Tipton County. This is going to go until 6:30. I want you to go to the lowest floor in your home. Make sure you're in the center, away from exterior walls. Go to your safe place if you are in Crittenden, Mississippi, Shelby, or Tipton County. Now, I want to take a look at another because we got 3 warnings back to back. Here's another one right here. This one is, let me give you the info on this. This is a tornado warning for Crockett, Dyer, Gibson, and Lauderdale County. That too goes until 6:30 this evening. We've also got multiple severe thunderstorm warnings around the area. Thunderstorm warning for Crittenden, Lauderdale, Mississippi, and Tipton County. Let me clear some of this out of here. We're going to go to Eric Brill in just a moment for a closer analysis of what is moving through. Also, flood warnings, a big issue this afternoon. But I do believe, I think we only have 2 active tornado warnings right now. Let me put this into motion for you, and then we're going to go to meteorologist Eric Brill for a closer look on what is going on. So I pan this up just a little bit. Here we go. There's that 3rd warning right now. Let's take a look at this one. Here we go. That is for tornado warning for Crittenden, Lee, and St. Francis counties, as well as Tunica County. That goes until 6:15. Let me go to meteorologist Eric Brill. He's got a look at first alert Doppler radar and a track on these storms. Eric, what are you seeing?
Ron, as you did mention here, we do have those pair of tornado warnings that are in place here across the Mid-South, but now we do have that 3rd one finally coming in. This is for our friends over in Northeast Arkansas, and that does include parts of Lee and St. Francis counties. So we really have a line of 3 of them right now stretching throughout northwestern portions of Tennessee. One that does include Shelby County, as Ron did mention, as well as Crittenden and over into Tipton counties. And then another one further to the south that does include Lee, St. Francis, as well as Crittenden counties. As far as what we're looking at here for the one that's really catching our eye the most right now, I do think the one that is the furthest to the north here that does include portions of Dyersburg and just outside of Ripley, that is the one to keep an eye on the most. One of the products that we do have here at Action News 5, it does give us a detection as to which tornado it does think is the strongest here. And you notice that this number right here is 4.5. That given storm, or now it's up to 5.6 here, and that's just to the northeast of Ripley, Tennessee here. It is scooting itself up to the north right now, and it looks like it is headed towards the general direction of Dyersburg. So if you are into portions of Lauderdale County, if you're over into Dyer County, Haywood, as well as Crockett counties, you want to make sure you get into your safe place right now. Put yourself in the middle of your house. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Not a bad idea to have a pillow or a helmet nearby. Put that on so this way, if there is any debris that does start to fly around here, you're able to be protected from it. The one that we have that's further to the south right now, it is near Earl right now, and that is scooting itself to the northeast as of this time. This does include portions of Shelby as well as Tipton counties. As far as what we have with different towns and cities, it does include Turl as well as Millington over towards Munford, and that one is moving itself to the northeast as well. The 3rd one is further to the south. This one does include yet again parts of Lee County, St. Francis County, and Crittenden County, and that given storm there looks like it might not necessarily have quite as much definition as some of the ones up to the north here, but it's certainly something that we are keeping an eye on right now. And if we look over at the tornado index that we have here at Action News 5, is at 3.2, so that one's a little bit lower than the one that's further to the north. The one that does include portions of Shelby County as well as into Tipton County, that one is registering here, looks like at a 3.6. So there is some good news there that those ones aren't quite as strong as some of the ones that are further to the north. So Ron, obviously when we do have these tornado warnings here across the Mid-South, always a good idea to make those proper preparations, put itself between the outside world, as many walls between yourself and the outside world as possible, and a good idea to have a blanket or a pillow on standby to cover your head.
Let's take a close look and put a track on some of these storms, show you where these are going right now. First of all, we take a look at 3 active tornado warnings in place right now. So I'm going to start with the one that's over Shelby County. So let's zoom into that one, and then let's track this entire line as we move it off to the east, and then we'll take a little farther radar analysis of it. I'm going to move it to the east-northeast. So we've got Heth in the path of this storm until 6 o'clock, 6:14 into Drummonds. West Memphis, 6:33. As a matter of fact, I think my times may be just a little bit off. Bear with me for 1 second. second. I'm going to come back. I'm going to update the times on that. These storms, Eric, these storms are moving about what, 40 miles per hour? Is that the track I'm getting on this?
Correct. That is what I'm seeing
40
here.
to 45.
Maybe a tick quicker than that, 45 miles per hour.
I'm going to track these at 45, and I tell you what, I'm going to clear this off. We're going to put a new track on this. And let's do this. We'll go to the next rad and track it just like that. There we go. And we're tracking at 45 miles. That's a 30-mile-an-hour track. Bear with me 1 second. Making a quick adjustment here. I'm going to clear that off one more time and then give you a better track. Here we go. These are the communities that are going to be impacted by this storm. Then we'll take a closer look for the rotation. So Crawfordsville, 603. Marion, that's going to be coming your way at 612. We'll see it get into Fraser, 626. Then into Raleigh, 632, 637 into Millington. Lakeland at 646, 653 into Arlington, and 657 we will get into Galloway. So that's the storm right now for the northern portion of Shelby County. This storm is under a tornado warning right now. It is going to go until 6:30 this evening. That is for Crittenden, Shelby, St. Francis, and Tipton. Let me clear this off. Let's take a look at the one that is just to the south of it. Let's put a track on this and give you an idea of where this storm is going within the next couple of minutes. And I'm going to track it from the area we believe where the rotation is being found, just to the west of Marianna, Arkansas. So Aubrey, that's coming your way at 5:55. We'll see that move into Marianna at 6:05. Then into Bricky's at 6:19, 6:27 into Council, 6:31 into Hughes, 6:37 into Heff, Horseshoe Lake, 6:41, 6:45. That will move into Proctor. And again, this tornado warning in effect now until 6:30 or 6:15, excuse me, and this is for Crittenden, Lee, St. Francis, and Tunica counties. Now, let's go to the north. I'm going to clear this off. We're going to pan up just a little bit. Take a look at this storm that is working right here. Now, we also have active severe thunderstorm warnings, but I just want to track the tornado warnings right now, and then we'll take a closer look at the severe thunderstorm warnings. I'll go over to Eric in just a moment. And you've got, you know what, let's go to you right now, because you're looking at that storm just to the north of Ripley. This is the one I'm about to track. Let me just put a quick track on it. Eric, you're showing a shear marker over there. I can see his computer system from where I am. These are some of the communities. ARP 556, Gates 612. It's going to get into Folks at about 620, 625 into Dyersburg, 636 into New Bern, Yorkville, 643, then into Trenton, 649. Kenton, that's going to come your way at 6:55. Get to your safe place now. Eric, you've got a great view on the link system. Let's check it out.
Yeah, so Ron, this is obviously a storm that we've been tracking out for the past few minutes, and it is one that is moving to the northeast here along Highway 51 here. So if you do have any sort of general friends, people, family, things of that nature here that are a little bit closer to Dyersburg, between Dyersburg and Ripley, good idea. Make sure they get into that safe spot here. Give them that warning, because we are certainly seeing at least some rotation here into portions of Lauderdale as well as into Dyer County. So this is certainly a pretty strong and severe storm, and it's a tornadic storm here that does look like it is trying to pop up here on the radar. So what we have kind of for a wide view of things here, the line of storms that is moving itself from the west to the east here. As noted, we do have those three tornado warnings that are in place here. One is for the general portion of Lee County, that's scooting to the northeast. You have another one that's pretty much at the intersection of Cross, St. Francis, and Crittenden counties. That's moving to the northeast. And then that third one that is a little bit closer to Dyersburg that we are keeping an eye on here. So,
are you getting a shear marker on any of those other storms, or is that the only one?
The one that's further to the north, that's really the only one that's kind of catching my eye at this point, Ron.
Can you zoom into that quickly? And I want to talk more about that shear marker, because that is a definitive rotation point that our technology is showing right now, the rotation. Eric, if you'll give that a little spin, that is what we call a shear marker. Let's give that a little three-dimensional spin. You see the rotation on it, the green, the red, that's where the stronger rotation is. That cylinder that you're seeing that extends probably to around, what, 20,000 feet on these storms?
I'd say that's a safe assumption.
Do you have a skit on it that you can check the storm height on it?
Sure.
But that shear marker itself, and let's pull that down a little bit so we can see that shear marker right in the middle of the screen. These are the communities that are in the path of the storm right now, and those storms, you see that shear marker right there to the west of Unionville. That's going to rapidly move to the north and east. Eric, if you'll hit that red skit That's going to give us some info on that storm. That's going to tell us a little more about the height, the location of it, and a little more on the intensity. Do you see that red line that's right there to the north and east of Edith?
Yeah.
See that red line? Hit that red line, and we should get a new info box coming up. You're going to need to hit the circle at the bottom end of that arrow. So right there, pop that up. There we go. Can you move that info box up just a little bit above so it comes above? So here's what we're looking at. Marvin, can you put that behind me, or Jayla? It's moving to the northeast at 54 miles per hour, okay? So we're seeing that move northeast, 54 miles per hour. The height of the storm is about 23,000 feet. That's high enough for it to really start to tap into some cold air coming in behind it and draw it down. One of the things we have in advance of this, and Eric, you and I were talking about this, that strong southerly flow in advance, then this whole system is moving off to the east. That's what's allowing this to spin right now. And we're seeing some pretty significant shear. This, I do believe, is the shear swath. What are we
Correct.
seeing with
it's a shear rate.
Let's see that. That's the shear rate.
Yep.
What does the shear swath on this look like? That's going to give us that whole track. Check that out. That is impressive indeed. Anything on there catching your eye, Eric?
Just the whole entire storm system, or this given tornado warning, just the general cell itself. It is scooting to the northeast here. Dyersburg's a place that you certainly have to keep an eye on here, because you are under that tornado warning right now, and this is headed towards your general direction. Don't want to forget about the other two warnings that we have here, even though the one that is further to the north, it certainly is catching our eye right now. And you see those areas that are within the red and black, how they're going back and forth and essentially blinking. Those are the ones that have the tornado warnings around right now. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to take a little bit closer of a look right now and go from the south to the north. So if we start heading a little bit further to the south here, a little bit closer into Lee, St. Francis, and over into Cross County as well as Crittenden County, that given cell, it doesn't necessarily have quite the look per se that other ones do. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have some small hail at least embedded here just to the north of Mariana. As far as what we have here with our technology at Action News 5, it's detecting that we could have some quarter-size hail there. The big thing, though, is the velocity and the winds. Do we have those winds intersecting each other and showing that typical and classic sort of green-blue, or the green-red, rather, that indicates that spin that's in the air? Unfortunately, at least for that cell that's further to the south, doesn't have that. The one that does include parts of Crittenden County and over into northern portions of Shelby County. This tornado warning here, it looks a little less organized, but this is also moving closer to the actual radar site that is in Millington right now. So at times, that can maybe not necessarily give us the best picture here, but fortunately, we can kind of look into the actual storm itself, and for the time being, this one looks like it has a little bit of hail just and near that of Turl. The BTI on this is 3.6, and once you start seeing that number approach, say 6, that's when the potential tornado is more likely to be on the ground than if it was a lower number here. So that 3.6 is a good thing to see. Of course, we want that to be 0, but it's still something we are keeping an eye on. A little further to the north now, back to that main cell. That one is still looking pretty strong here. That is just to the south of Dyersburg. Yet again, if you're into Dyersburg, we want to make sure you get into that safe place right now. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Put a blanket over your head, a towel, a pillow, a helmet, something like that. So this way, if debris does fall, at least you have something to be able to protect your head. Get inside of an interior closet, as this is still looking pretty strong here as far as this given cell that's moving itself from Lauderdale County into Dyer County. And it does include Dyersburg specifically right now as far as the city of Dyersburg is concerned. If you know anybody that's traveling north on Highway 51, moving from Ripley closer to Dyersburg, or anybody that's maybe moving across the Tennessee River towards Dyersburg, that is a tornadic or potential tornado that could be on the ground here, and it is something we're keeping an eye on. So, Ron, as far as the BTI goes on this, we were just talking about that here momentarily. Once that number does start to climb into the 6s, I know that's when that starts to grab your attention.
Where are we on that right now, Eric? What's the BTI on that? Do we?
So from 6.6 down to 2.2, so there's good news within that.
So at 2.2, that thing's moving though, 72-mile-an-hour winds, or 72 miles per hour as it's moving off to the northeast.
Yep.
So look, there's going to be some wind damage associated with this as well. And that was one of our concerns earlier with this system. Let me back up and show you the big picture, all right? I'm going to put this into motion because this whole line is making a rapid push to the east-northeast. And look at the lightning within this. Let me give you an idea of how many lightning strikes, and I'll track it from right around here up until just till we get to around just south of the Kentucky border. So about 282 lightning strikes with that. So there is the potential for power outages just because of the lightning itself. Then we come in and we take a look at the wind associated with this. That's velocity. And let me show you how things are playing out on that. We've got a lot of activity, that stronger wind pushing off to the east. But right now, we are looking at 3 tornado warnings that we have active. This is for St. Francis and Lee counties. That's going to go until 6:15. Then we've got Crittenden, Shelby, Tipton County. That's going to go until 6:30. Then we're looking at the one for Dyer, Crockett, and a northeast corner of Lauderdale County. That too goes until, was that 6:30, Eric? I do believe. Let me hit the info on that, because that tornado warning, that too is going to go until 6:30 this evening. Now, I'm going to put a line or a track on this whole line, because I want to give everybody a first alert on where this is going and who it's going to impact. So we're going to track it, the whole line, all right? You're going to see a whole bunch of communities come up into play on this, but I just want to give you an idea of where it's going. So 624, Dyersburg, that line's coming in your way. You can expect damaging wind along the leading edge, very heavy rain, maybe some hail, and additional spin-ups along it as well. Then you get into Memphis at about 6:38. That's when we'll get hit with that main line. Hernando, 7:01. Then Jackson, 7:38. Potts Camp, yeah, northern Mississippi in play here too, and it's going to be a longer night for North Mississippi. 8:22, this line of storms will be moving in. Then we get to Ripley at about 8:48. Should be right around Corinth at 9:10. And then Springfield at 9:35. Here's what you need to know, though. This whole system is going to be out of here right around 11 o'clock tonight. So from now until about 11 o'clock, I want everyone to stay weather aware. Make sure you have a storm safety plan for you and your family, because this is a potent line moving in our direction. Now I'm going to zoom in just a little tighter, and I want to take a look at individual cells for the potential for any rotation, all right? So let's bring up the scope and see. We're looking at the radar view itself. I don't see a really definitive inflow notch. There's a little something right there, but as we put the scope on this, let's see if we can detect anything, maybe just to the south of Turl. Looks like there may be a little something. I'm going to clear that off and then do it again. Here we go. I want to make that scope just a little bigger. I'm not sure it's going to let me do that. So, tell you what, Eric, you know what? You're going to have a better view on it. You want to take it over from here?
Sure, I got you, Ron. Worthwhile to point out that the National Weather Service is canceling the tornado warning, the one that's the furthest south of the 3. So there is good news if you are over into Lee, St. Francis, or the far southern portion of Crittenden County. While the actual box itself, you always hear meteorologists talk here about just polygons and just tornado warnings, things of that nature. It appears that they are going to drop that tornado warning that does include Mariana, as well as just the far eastern portion of Arkansas here, yet again for Lee, St. Francis, and Crittenden County. But with that said, going back to the storm that Ron was talking about here, that is in Crittenden County and is starting to scoot itself into the far southern portion of Mississippi County. That given cell, it is moving itself to the east-northeast here at about 49 miles per hour, and it still has a pretty tall cloud top to it too at about 23,000 feet. So let's see if we could take that full here and exactly see what we have going on for that potential of hail across this portion of the Mid-South just to the east of Turl. Looks like we have at least, I'd say, quarter-sized hail that is around in the sky right now, and this is headed towards Millington. It is headed to the northern portion of Shelby County. So there is something to point out with that. Good news, we just got a report here that there's no reported damage over into Dyer County, but this given storm is also in the process of moving through Dyer County, so that is something we will keep an eye on here. We were just talking about the BTI here, and when that number starts to get to 6, that's when we start to really take focus of that given cell. And the good news is this is down to a 4.8. With that noted, a 4.8 still isn't that far off from a 6, and that is that's still at least some turbulence that is within the air. There's still that spin that is in the air, and the storm that is in Dyer County right now, that is scooting itself to the northeast. It is racing to the northeast at 72 miles per hour. As far as, do we have any sort of new updates with that? Siren's going off. Just looking here at Action News 5, it does look like we have some lightning off in the distance that's moving itself closer, which makes sense because that main line of storms is moving itself from the west to the east here. These are racing to the east and northeast at about 50 miles per hour as far as the forward speed goes. Not even as far as the actual sustained winds, but just a forward speed. So these are starting to cruise to the east here rather quickly. Even if you don't have a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning in your given area, it is a wise idea to make sure you just take shelter and avoid any sort of windows. And Ron, obviously having 3 tornado warnings, all these popping up here within the span of about 5 minutes. It went from 0 to 100 pretty quick.
Yeah, and let me explain what's going on here. We call this a quasi-linear convective system, all right? It's a basically convoluted word for a line of thunderstorms. Oftentimes, you can get little spin-ups within the line itself as it's moving on through. You've got air coming in from the south, and this whole thing is moving to the north or to the east, and as it does, within the line itself, you can get a little spin up. And I think that's what we're seeing here. It's very brief, oftentimes radar indicated, not even touching the ground, simply because the movement of the storm itself is so rapid and to the east. But the National Weather Service radar picking up on the potential for a little rotation within that. So, tell you what, let's take a closer look now. Let's go back and just analyze each and every cell. By the way, we're getting some pretty impressive rainfall amounts with this also, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I'm going to focus in on this cell. Whoops, let me clear that off. It's been a little while since we've had severe weather. As a matter of fact, it's been about 6 months since we've seen anything in the way of significant strong to severe storms coming through the area. But right now, as we take a close look at this, let's talk lightning first. Within this little box polygon right here, we got about 52 strikes of lightning. I'm looking for debris signatures. In other words, whenever the storm starts to rotate, it will oftentimes take debris, lift it into the atmosphere. We would see a blue ball of sorts. Well, I don't see anything like that. There is a little bit of blue right there on the leading edge, and that's likely the wind coming through, lifting leaves, maybe even some small limbs into the air, and the radar picking up on that. But I don't see a significant debris signature. Now, I also want to go back to the scope. Let's take a look one more time and see if we see anything in here. And I just don't. We're looking at the velocity, the wind speed, and direction. It is a rapid moving line to the east. And really, I think what we're dealing with is just straight line wind associated with that. However, we still have to watch it closely because we do have the tornado warning that still remains. This is going to go now until 6:15. So there you have it. Crittenden, Lee, St. Francis, and Tunica. Let's update the track on that. Then I'm moving north into Memphis and Shelby County. So here you go. Folks in Mariana, 613, 624 into Cody, Brickey, 628. Then it's going to move into Kokomo right around 632, Council 636. We'll see that then move into Hughes at 640, 647 into Heth, and Horseshoe Lake. That's coming your way, 6:50 is the time. Know the safest place to go in your home and get there now. Don't wait until this line gets to you. Go now. Now, let's move north. Let's check out the one in Shelby County. Let's see if we're seeing anything different in this. We'll start off with a look at the lightning. Here we go. And look, much of northern Shelby County not even getting rain right now. There are 31 strikes of lightning. By the way, those that are getting rain, it's coming down pretty heavy just to the west of the Mississippi River. Look at this. We're getting rainfall rates. Whoops. It's not giving me the rainfall rate on that because it's picking up on the warning ahead of time. Unfortunately, I can't do it right now, but because I've got warnings overlapping. But right now, you can see where the heavier precipitation is coming into play, those areas right there. So let's go back to the next rad view. Let's take a closer look at what we're seeing here. I do want to check out the scope. Let's see if we detect any rotation. Eric, if you see anything, feel free to break in and let me know. I don't see, and look, this little area right here, check that out. That is likely straight line wind that's just about to come across the Mississippi River. I want to track that just to give you an idea of of where that wind is likely going to move to within the next few minutes. So strong winds. I'm tracking the strong wind right there on the leading edge. Marion 612. You're going to get a sudden gust of wind. Heavy rain will follow. A lot of thunder and lightning. Drummond 618, 625 into Burleson. We'll see it get into Millington at 629. Then Covington 637. It's going to move into Rosemark at 640. Tabernacle 646. And then Gainesville 652. Not tracking a tornado. I'm tracking straight line wind with this right here. Looks like we also may have, see that little area right there? Looks like that may be a wet microburst. And what's happening is there's a lot of cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's warm at the surface, but that cold air is heavy and it sinks, it falls. You can get, and then as that wind hits the ground, it just spreads out and can create damage, taking down trees, power lines, power poles. So we could be dealing with power outages here in a bit. Kelly Cook is standing by. I'm going to check in with her in a moment to find out if we have any power outages. But it looks like we've got a little wet microburst right there. We call it a wet microburst because it's raining very heavy. So that rain that's coming down also bringing that column of air down to the surface with it, and that can create damage. So there's almost a 1-2 punch here with the straight line wind right here about to enter northern Shelby County. Shelby Forest, you're in the path of this, and then just behind it, a wet microburst coming in. So a lot going on just within that cell itself. But to put another track on it, yeah, what do you got, Eric?
So, Ron, worthwhile to kind of point out, too, just kind of looking at some different things from the National Weather Service. It appears that cell that's the furthest to the north here, they are going to turn around and actually cancel that warning that does include portions of Gibson as well as Dyer County. So there's obviously some great news within that here. And it seems like the National Weather Service are starting to trim back some of those warnings as well. So
this is the storm you're talking about, right there. That's in Dyer, Crockett, and Gibson County. So no longer any rotation. You've got a better view on it. Let's check out what you've got.
Come on, let's jump over here.
Yeah.
So, the good thing about this given storm here, as I've been talking about here, we've been looking at that BTI, or the Barron Tornado Index. That's the fancy word for it. And that number, it got as large as about 6.6 here. Fortunately, it's back down to about 4.8. With that said, it's been kind of fluctuating itself back and forth. It had been a lower 4, now it's back up to a 4.8 here. But as noted, National Weather Service kind of noting that they anticipate dropping this given warning here. And I believe that one expires here at 6:30. So we still have about 17 minutes worth of that warning to go here, as we are now at 6:13 or almost 6:14 for that matter here, and that cell is moving to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. So if you don't even factor in the actual winds that are within the storm, just the forward movement within itself, it is cruising to the northeast here at about 59 to 60 miles per hour. So that is an extremely just forward, fast-moving storm here. A little bit further to the south here, we've been keeping an eye on some of those storms that have been tornado warned. They did include portions of Shelby County over into Tipton County as well, among a few others. Still do have that warning, and it does include portions of Munford, just the southwest corner of Tipton County, and the far eastern, southeastern corner of Mississippi County. So that is certainly a first alert there. You want to make sure you put yourself into the interior of your house. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Put that blanket over your head, so this way it gives you a little bit of protection in case something does fall on you. A helmet would be ideal here, or a pillow at the least, so this way you can kind of prevent the any sort of objects from hitting you in the head here. But that given cell, it still is packing, it's certainly packing a lot of rain, and it certainly has quite a bit of lightning embedded within it here. As to what we have for the tornado index there, that's at a 4.2 now, so that's actually ramped itself up ever so slightly. It does look like the strongest portion of that cell that is over into Tipton County. It is moving itself kind of parallel to the Mississippi River here and just to the west of Highway 51. But you don't want to be traveling either north or south on Highway 51 right now from pretty much Memphis all the way through Dyersburg because of the heaviness of the rain and obviously the tornado warnings that continue to be around these given cells as well. So there's some good news there. And what I mean by good news is now we're down to 2 tornado warnings. You still have the one that's into portions of Dyer and Crockett County, and then that secondary one that is into the northwestern corner of Shelby County. It also does include portions of Mississippi County and into Tipton County. So we're down to 2 tornado warnings that are still in play here across the Mid-South. And I do want to note, too, that we still have a few severe thunderstorm warnings that are in play, too. I just like kind of taking those severe thunderstorm warnings off because once you start getting a bunch of those different warnings and advisories on there, it can get pretty challenging to see those. So
Eric, it also looks like they
What you
tightened
got?
up that polygon
Yes.
for Shelby County and Tipton County. Let's go back to the first alert Doppler radar. So it extended back into Crittenden County earlier. Let me check the new info on this. Let's see what we got going here. You know what? I don't think I'm in play. Hold on. Let me hit one button. That should take me. There we go. I want to zoom into this little area. Now, we're still under a tornado warning for just a small portion of northern Shelby County. Shelby Forest, you're included in this. Millington as well. But I do believe Crittenden County has now been removed. However, we're not going to let our guard down because our friends in Tipton County, especially into Covington, this is coming your way, all right? So let's take a look, first of all, at the info on the tornado warning itself and just see if anything has been eliminated from that. So the tornado warning now for Mississippi, Shelby, and Tipton County. So yeah, a small portion of Mississippi County included in this. As we take a look at the track of the storm, let me give you an updated view on that. We're going to see that, and it's tough to find where that rotation may be. Tell you what, let me do this before I put a track. I just want to make sure that I'm tracking it properly. Maybe a little rotation right there. Eric, do you see that? It looks like it's right there on the Tipton-Shelby County line.
I agree. Kind of the intersection, really, Tipton, Shelby, and Mississippi counties where those all meet right along the Mississippi River.
Let me go back. Come back to me.
Yeah, go for it.
Eric, or Jayla, come back to me. Here we go. Let's put a track on that. I want to take that up to Covington. Let's get Covington in there. Covington, this storm's going to come your way at 6:57. 6:57, here we are right now, 6:17. You've got time to make your plans, get to your safe place, but know that this storm, this cell itself is coming your way. But where the area of rotation is right now, Dixonville, that's going to be there about 6:32. We'll see it move into Drummonds at 6:36, 6:40 into Randolph, Atoka, 6:44, Brighton, 6:49. Then it moves into Bride at 6:54, Covington, as we mentioned, 6:57. Tabernacle, 7:01. So that is the active tornado warning we have in place right now, and that is going to remain. Let's see if they've changed anything on the way of timing with this. That'll go until 6:30 this evening. But look, we've now got a severe thunderstorm warning for a good portion of Shelby County. Under a severe thunderstorm warning, it's not even raining. It's matter. Jalen, can you pop up a high five camera? Do we have one of our Best Care Home Services cameras? Give me Midtown. Yeah, let's take a look at Midtown quickly. I want to show you what we're seeing here in the city because, look, a lot of folks may be out and about right now, but you need to get to a safe place because the storm is coming. And look at that lightning. That is absolutely impressive lightning display there in the distance. So that whole line's coming our way. Let me go back and put a track on it. Then, Eric, I'm going to come to you for any other characteristics. So, Jayla, if you'll take me back now to the radar, let me clear this off. And Jayla's our director this evening, doing a great job. Thank you, because I'm moving quickly here. But I'm going to track this line, all right? So here we go. Yo, you got something new?
Yeah, so worthwhile to note, the National Weather Service saying that they're going to let that Dyersburg tornado warning expire on time here, and I believe that was a 6:30 warning. So while we still have 10 minutes or 11 minutes left in that warning here, there is at least good news within that. But that line that is starting to move itself a little bit closer to Shelby County, I think you're about to track that out here. It certainly has quite the punch to it, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. Certainly not a wise idea to be headed out as of this time into either West Memphis, take your pick, all around the 240 loop.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's put a track on it. Here we go. And I'm going to track it from northwestern Shelby County all the way down, and then we're going to move it off to the east. It's moving at about 45 miles per hour. With that in mind, it's going to get into West Memphis, 627, Mound City, 629. We'll see that then get into Millington at 640. Now, I'm not tracking tornadic activity or a rotation. I'm tracking this line of heavy rain and thunderstorm activity to give folks an idea of the thunderstorm potential coming your way. So Millington 640, it'll get into Memphis proper, and that's inside the 240 loop by about 648, but it's going to be really getting into the downtown area probably about 645 or so. Then South Haven, 658, 705, it will move into Germantown. Then we're going to see it go into Fisherville at 713, Collierville at about 723. As I take a look at the scope, I want to see if there's anything, again, in the way of significant rotation with this. I don't see it right now, but wow, I I see a lot of wind. I see a lot of strong wind. Now we can take a look at spectrum width. Spectrum width shows us basically instability within the atmosphere. If you've ever been in an airplane and flying, you may get a little bumpy from time to time. That's because warm air is rising, cold air is sinking. As a plane flies through that, it can get really bumpy. So we're looking right around the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but some of this can translate down to the surface. But you can see where the greater potential for turbulence is right now, and really right there along that leading edge. Let me zoom out and take a look at the whole view, because we got some significant turbulence. There's two areas of that I want to watch closely. All right, I'm gonna zoom in first to this one for strong. Well, it went way too far out. That happens with technology sometimes. But look at this area right here. New radar scope coming into play, or new radar update coming into play. You see this area right here? Strong wind. That's making its way right now through Dyer County and Lauderdale County. So that's coming through Ripley, Tennessee. Then we've got another area that's just down to the south of that. You can see that area in orange. That's what we're looking for, the orange, the red. Behind it, there's a lot of warm and cold air sinking right now and trying to figure out, that's that colder air coming in. But it's on that leading edge that we're seeing more turbulence that's making its way on through Phillips County, and that's about to come into Tunica and Coahoma counties. But right now, as we go back, take a look at the big picture, we got a lot of activity. Eric, what are you watching?
So National Weather Service, they just issued now a severe thunderstorm warning that includes some of our northern counties right now. It does include portions of Tipton as well as into Haywood, Crockett County. So if you haven't seen those showers and storms quite yet, just to the north of I-40 and just to the east of Highway 51, Ron, I think that's the area to keep an eye on. That is warned for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. And Ron, I think you'll agree with this. The wind is certainly the bigger threat out of this, not necessarily the hail. Yes, you might get a little bit of change-size hail, as I like to call it here, a couple pennies, things like that. But those strong winds that are starting to really cross over the Mississippi River at this point, that is certainly the thing that we are keeping an eye on. Worthwhile to note, too, we still do have those 2 tornado warnings that are in place here across the Mid-South. They do include Dyer County, but as noted, that is expected to expire here in the matter of about 6.5 minutes at 6:30, the time now being 6:23 on this Saturday evening. And the good news is we've been talking about that tornado index number. It had been as high as the mid-6s. Now it's down to about a 2.4. So it looks like that potential of a tornado is definitely starting to decrease here, Ron. So there's good news. I do want to point out, though, a little bit further to the south here, into the far western corner of Tipton County, it does seem like the hail intensity has picked up there. That Barry number still at about a 4.2 here, or the tornado index number that's at about a 4 here. But the potential for us to see some hail, notice the numbers here. This says hail just in general here at about an 80% rate, and that severe hail at about a 70% rate. When we're talking about those hail numbers there, as far as severe hail goes, we're talking about the size of a quarter here. If you have a quarter fall from the sky, it's obviously a pretty big piece of metal that is going to crash. And if it's in the form of hail, that's going to result in some damage. So that's where that severe hail comes from, because in order to have a severe thunderstorm warning, you need either 58+ mile-per-hour winds or hail the size of a quarter or greater. Of course, you can have the combination of both those things here. And it looks like National Weather Service now, they're expiring a tornado warning. Ron, I'm not 100%.
Going to let you catch up on that. I want to check in with Kelly Cook right now, because power is going to be an issue. Eric, you were talking about the strong wind coming into play, and as that starts to make its way across the Mississippi River, I think a lot of folks are going to start losing power. Kelly, you told me there's already a few thousand people without. What have you got for us?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we first started checking these outages, we were right around 800 or so. That's now jumped up quite a bit. Let's take a look at this MLGW power outage map, what we have for you right now. You can see there, we are right at about 3,052 customers, 36 outages, people who are out power right now. Take a look at that orange, little red there. Our friends there in Fraser, in the Whitehaven area along East Shelby Drive, some of you are already dealing with power outages. I can tell you just a few minutes ago I was checking, that number was over 4,000. So quite a few did get their power turned back on. But please be aware, with these high winds and lightning, as Ron and Eric have been telling us all evening long, we are keeping a close eye of power outages. And something else, Ron, of course, is our airport. I did take a look at the Memphis International Airport. A lot of fluctuation with time. Some people coming in a little bit earlier, pushing it back quite a bit. So if you've got friends or family coming into Memphis or you've got a flight for tonight, please check. I'm sure you are, because the weather is changing that as well. But right now, Ron, Eric, we've got about 3,000 without power. We've got quite a few hours to go. Let's turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so Kev, well, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, okay. Let me take a look at the big picture. I want to bring you up to speed on what's happening right now. So we still have 2 tornado warnings that are officially in effect, but the National Weather Service is going to let this one in Dyer and Gibson County expire in 4 minutes. It's going to go until 6:30. I think we're going to see the one that's working its way through Tipton County. That too will likely be allowed to expire. We're not seeing anything in the way of significant rotation. This is becoming more of a straight line wind event, I do believe. And look, I'd rather have neither one of the options is good, but the straight line wind a little better than tornado. Still going to the potential for damage, power outages there, but you get that violently rotating wind speed and that can create some big problems. But we still have several warnings that are working their way through the area. This whole line is moving off to the east and it will impact the entire Action News 5 coverage area, especially as it starts to move into West Tennessee and northern Mississippi. Look, we had temperatures in the mid-70s from Tunica down to Clarksdale today, even near Panola County, temperatures right around the low to mid-70s. So it got warm. There's a lot of instability. There's a lot of moisture at the surface. There's fuel for this line to work with. I will tell you this, I think things are starting to look a little better for our viewers back into eastern Arkansas, especially north of the 40 corridor. Poinsett County, I think your severe weather threat is over. Not going to completely let our guard down, but you're in much better shape right now. And I think we're in a little better shape, especially for much of Cross County, because that lightning's starting to move now. So I think this is going to turn into a rainmaker from Craighead to Poinsett down to Cross County, St. Francis County. It's almost out of there, but we're going to watch areas now to the east, and that's where that heavy rain is flowing. Once that main line moves through, then we're talking about just the potential for rainfall to continue into the evening. But before I hand it off to Eric, I want to take a look at this little area right here. That's where we still have the tornado warning. You were talking about hail just a moment ago. Let's take a little slice of these storms and see what we've got here. Whoops, let me go back into the 3D slice mode. Unfortunately, it's not working for me right now.
Hey, Ron, I'll bail you out a little bit while you're kind of messing with that. So National Weather Service, of course, interacting with different people there. There was a spotter that did actually indicate that there was golf ball-sized hail that occurred near Richardson Landing over in Tipton County. That's pretty close to the Mississippi River over here in the far western portion of Tipton County. So not the best of situations here into the western side of Tipton County. Certainly something that we are keeping an eye on here. But as Ron did note, this is certainly more, it seems like, of a wind threat now. And really heavy rain. And the good news is, especially if you are a little bit further to the west here, if you are into portions of Poinsett County, into far western portions of Cross County, far western portions of St. Francis County, you're looking a lot better than some of the areas that are to the east. Excuse me. Now, I know some areas haven't necessarily seen as much rain here, especially into northern Mississippi. And I do believe that the line is a little bit stronger to the north than necessarily to the south if you were to have I-40 as that dividing line here. With that noted, though, throughout all of Shelby County, we're knocking on the door of seeing some pretty heavy rain that is about to engulf us here. As to what we still have in place for those severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings, and keep in mind, a lot of these tornado warnings, they are set to expire here at 6:30, which will be occurring here in the matter of about 10 seconds or so. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that those polygons or those red boxes that are flashing there, that those are going to be able to dissolve and go away here, because we don't want, obviously, any sort of tornado warnings in place here across the Mid-South, and that is something we are keeping an eye on. But the overall tornado threat looks like it has diminished a little bit. With that said, we still have some pretty strong straight line winds that are moving across the Mid-South right now and are moving west of the Mississippi, or moving from the west to the east across the Mississippi River right now. Now, the unfortunate thing is that we have going on right now is that our radar site, it is out of Millington, Tennessee. And since those storms are starting to approach that radar site, it results in the scans that come out of the radar to maybe not necessarily be quite as good as when these storms are moving towards and then past that radar site here. With that said, though, we do officially not have any tornado warnings here across the Mid-South, but there still are 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in play for a few different counties here across the region, including Tipton, as well as Lauderdale, Haywood, Crockett, and even off to the east, including Madison and Gibson counties. That given warning is in place. I believe it's until 7 o'clock. Double check it here. That is until 7 o'clock this evening, so that is certainly a stronger one that we have. And then the one that's a little bit further to the south here does include Crittenden County as well as Shelby County, including downtown Memphis, as well as everybody within 240 here. So if you know anybody that's traveling around Memphis right now along 240, good idea to give them a first alert here and make sure that they do head on in, because we are going to see some very heavy rain at the absolute least out of this, and some pretty strong winds that are embedded within some of these showers and storms here across the Mid-South. Time now is 6:31 on this Saturday evening, and Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, he's giving me the thumbs up that he's ready to get back in action here. So, Ron, it's obviously always a good thing whenever we can get rid of as many of these warnings as possible here. Yeah. And now we're down to those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, but it does include that big population center that is throughout Shelby County and for Memphis.
And look,